You didn't just arrive here, you were placed. Your birth wasn't random. It was rhythmic, patterned, symbolic. Carl Jung believed your entry into this world marked more than time passing. It marked a psychological imprint woven into nature's living story. Seasons aren't just weather, they're archetypal stages of the soul. And you, born in a particular month, entered during a precise chapter of that unfolding myth. At first, this may sound strange, but it's not mysticism, it's psychology, symbolic psychology. Carl Jung's work in archetypes and the collective unconscious shows us that time itself carries meaning. Birth in winter, spring, summer, or fall carries subtle energies that shape our instincts, fears, and roles. Your birth month, then, isn't trivia. It's a psychological compass, a silent myth written into your bones. Imagine it, the cold stillness of January, the rebellion stirring in February, the emotional thaw of March. Each month carries a psychic tone. If you were born in a time of fire, you carry fire. If you were born in stillness, you carry contemplation. These aren't destinies, they're currents, archetypal rhythms that push you until you recognize and reclaim them. Carl Jung taught that archetypes aren't stereotypes. They live inside you, shaping your emotional patterns without your conscious permission. Until you know them, only then can you move beyond them. As he warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Your month isn't a box. It's a mirror. And most people never look into it. They stay trapped in emotional patterns they didn't choose, reliving the same wounds, chasing the same illusions. But you're different. You're already searching. You're ready to name the myth you've inherited and begin to rewrite it. In the next part of this journey, we'll step deeper, month by month, into the symbolic archetypes Carl Jung believed shaped every birth. This isn't to limit you, it's to free you. Because once you understand the story you were born into, you can finally decide how it ends. Before we go further, if you're someone who's always sensed that there's more beneath the surface, that life isn't just events, but patterns, if you've ever felt like your inner world is speaking in riddles only your soul can understand, then take a moment now, like this video. This is where we don't run from our shadows. We sit with them, study them, and let them speak. Because knowing yourself isn't a hobby, it's survival. Now, let's walk the spiral. We begin in the depth of January, when silence blankets the earth and time itself seems to pause. According to Carl Jung, those born here carry the energy of the sage, not by choice but by vibration. January isn't loud, it's still, reserved, and so are its children. These individuals often feel old from a young age, not in body but in awareness. They don't speak often, but when they do, it carries weight. They're the ones people turn to in chaos, not for excitement but for clarity. Yet there's a cost. The sage can drift too far into thought, detach from joy, and live inside a world of responsibility so heavy it drowns spontaneity. If that's you, remember, wisdom doesn't always wear a serious face. Sometimes, the most enlightened thing you can do is play. Next comes February, cold on the outside, electric within. Jung associated this month with the visionary or the revolutionary. These are the ones who see what doesn't exist yet. They live in the future, in possibility, often misunderstood, often lonely, not because they're broken, but because the world isn't quite ready for what they carry. If you were born in February, you probably know this already. You felt the frustration of being too much or too different. And here's the truth, you are. Because your mind isn't built for small talk, it's built to rewire reality. But beware, vision without grounding becomes illusion. The challenge is learning to root your rebellion into action, to take that wild idea and build it. Then we arrive at March, the threshold between winter's end and spring's beginning. The archetype here is the reborn. This is where things start to move, awaken, melt. People born in March often carry deep emotional sensitivity, an intuitive gift, a quiet mysticism. They don't just feel, they absorb. They live between worlds, logic and spirit, mind and heart, past and future. Jung would say their task is to become whole through reinvention. These are the ones who break down, transform, rebuild, again and again. But if they aren't careful, they can lose themselves in the chaos of feeling, in the tides of their own empathy. The medicine? Boundaries. The gift? Resilience. If you were born in March, your soul chose transformation as its path. But transformation isn't always pretty. It's messy, raw, holy. April explodes like fire. The archetype, the warrior, the initiator. This month screams of momentum, courage, movement. Those born here have a natural drive to start, to act, to push forward, even if they don't know where it's leading. Jung saw this archetype as one of raw willpower. April-born individuals are rarely passive. They charge, they blaze, they spark movements just by entering a room. But the warrior's wound is impatience, burnout, a quick temper that burns bridges before truth has a chance to speak. Their lesson? Power is not just in motion, but in timing. The pause, the stillness, that's where true strength gathers. Then comes May, when nature blooms and the world steadies. This is the month of the builder, the lover of simplicity. The archetype here is all about stability, beauty, and the physical pleasures of life. May-born souls crave grounding. They find nourishment in the tangible: art, food, routine, comfort. They are the ones who bring peace to chaos, who nurture slow, lasting growth. But stability has a shadow too: rigidity, fear of change, a longing for permanence in an impermanent world. Jung would say their work is to let go, not of what they love, but of the illusion that it can last forever. If that's you, your strength is your depth. But don't let that depth become a cage. Then we reach the turning point of the year. June, the month of the seeker or mediator. The light is high, the energy open, and so are those born in June. These individuals carry a playful curiosity paired with a philosophical hunger. They connect easily to people, ideas, questions. They are the bridge builders, the communicators, the eternal students of life. Jung believed the seeker's archetype was essential to individuation because it never settles for superficiality. Yet the seeker can get lost in its own searching, in overthinking, in people-pleasing, in never choosing, because what if there's something better just beyond the horizon? Their task? Commitment. Focus. The ability to choose a path even when 100 others glitter. Because truth isn't always found by searching, sometimes it reveals itself through staying. And so the first half of the year begins to close, not with answers, but with invitation. 6 months, 6 archetypes, 6 mirrors, each reflecting something ancient within you. The sage's wisdom, the visionary's fire, the reborn's depth, the warrior's drive, the builder's beauty, the seeker's thirst. In the next part of this journey, we'll step into the second half of the year, July through December, where the archetypes become deeper, darker, and more transformative. We move from the visible into the invisible, from expression into introspection. You've seen the surface. Now it's time to descend. The second half of the year doesn't begin, it descends. If the first 6 months are about becoming, the last 6 are about remembering. Something slows. The light fades, nature pulls inward, and so do we. Carl Jung believed that the arc of a year mirrors the arc of a soul: birth, bloom, brilliance, and then the fall, the harvest, the letting go, the integration. In these final 6 months, the archetypes shift from external power to internal depth, from action to meaning, from the ego's expression to the soul's encounter with its own shadow. And that descent begins in July, the warmest month, and paradoxically, the most inward. This is the month of the nurturer, the protector. Those born here often carry an emotional intelligence that runs deep but quietly. They feel like home to others, they create safety, they remember birthdays, read between the lines, and hold space for what others don't even say. Jung saw this archetype as one of great spiritual importance, not because it builds or leads, but because it heals. And yet, the healer's wound is this: forgetting themselves, losing their identity in service, suppressing their truth to keep the peace. If you were born in July, your growth lies not in giving more, but in receiving without guilt, in learning that protecting others doesn't mean abandoning yourself. Then comes August, a blaze of light before the days begin to shrink. The archetype here is the sovereign, the king, the queen, the natural leader. These individuals were born under the energy of presence, expression, command. They don't just walk into rooms, they own them. August-born people are often gifted with vision, charisma, and a sense of destiny. But Jung warned that the sovereign's greatest trial is pride, the need to control, the fear of being misunderstood. And behind it all, a loneliness no one sees, because when you're always wearing the crown, who reminds you you're human? If that's you, the key isn't to give up your throne, it's to share it. To lead not by force, but by listening. To realize that your real power was never in being above, it was in lifting others with you. With September, the season starts to shift. The air sharpens. The archetype here is the analyst, or the perfectionist. Those born in September often come into the world with a natural attention to detail, a gift for order, a mind that sees what's missing before others even know where to look. They're organizers, thinkers, critics, in the best and worst sense. Jung associated this archetype with the mind's need to understand, to name, to make meaning out of chaos. But when that gift turns inward, it becomes a curse. Self-criticism, rigidity, a fear of failure so strong it paralyzes growth. If you were born in September, your work is to surrender the need to be flawless, to accept the cracks in your own armor. Because real intelligence isn't about knowing everything, it's about staying open to what can't be explained. October arrives in color, leaves burn in gold and red, and the archetype of the diplomat or the artist takes center stage. This month holds the energy of beauty, balance, and bridge building. Those born here are often peacemakers, romantics, harmonizers. They have a natural ability to sense emotional undercurrents, to read between hearts, not just lines. But that sensitivity comes with a price, the fear of conflict, the urge to keep everyone happy. Jung understood that harmony seekers often suppress their own truth for the sake of surface-level peace. If that's you, then your evolution lies in honest confrontation, in realizing that real peace doesn't come from avoiding tension, it comes from walking through it with courage and care. Then there is November, a month wrapped in shadow, cold, quiet, unapologetically deep. Jung believed this time of year mirrored the soul's descent into its own underworld. The archetype here is the alchemist, the transformer. These are the people who do not fear the dark. They are drawn to what others avoid: death, loss, grief, rebirth. November-born souls are intense, intuitive, spiritually wired to dig beneath the surface and find the gold hidden in pain. But the path of the alchemist is brutal. They often suffer more than most, not because they're doomed, but because their soul chose transformation as its language. Their challenge is trust, surrender, letting the fire burn away what no longer serves without becoming consumed by it. If that's you, your power is real. But don't forget, even the alchemist needs rest. You weren't born just to suffer. You were born to transmute. Finally, we arrive at December, the closing chapter and the beginning of something unseen. This month holds the energy of the wise teacher, the visionary sage. Those born here carry both maturity and hope. They've seen the cycles, endings, and beginnings, and somehow still believe in more. Jung loved this archetype. He saw it as a symbol of integration, of reflecting on what was while dreaming of what could be. December-born people often feel philosophical, spiritual, idealistic. They want a guide, to teach, to inspire. But their shadow, floating too far from the now, becoming so wrapped in visions of what should be that they miss the sacredness of what is. If you were born in December, your gift is vision, but your task is presence. Bring your wisdom down to earth. Live it, not just think it. And now, we've walked the wheel. 12 months, 12 archetypes, 12 mirrors. But this isn't about labels, it's about language. It's about giving name to the currents that have been shaping you since your first breath. Carl Jung never wanted us to become our archetypes. He wanted us to integrate them, to know them, to wield them consciously. Because once you can name the myth you've inherited, you can step outside of it, shape it, reauthor it. The warrior learns to pause, the sage learns to laugh, the nurturer learns to protect themselves, the alchemist learns to rest. But here's the truth Jung left us with. Knowing is not enough. The work begins only once we choose to live differently. In the final part of this journey, we'll explore exactly how to take these archetypes and use them not as identity, but as fuel for growth. We'll talk about individuation, spiritual memory, and how to turn your symbolic birth month into a conscious path of transformation. Because you weren't just born, you were called. Now you know, the month you were born into carries a psychological tone, a myth humming beneath your life. But knowledge alone isn't power. Carl Jung didn't map archetypes for curiosity. He mapped them to confront the unconscious, the patterns you live out blindly unless you awaken. These archetypes are stories your soul agreed to walk, not prisons, portals. If you stop at naming your archetype, sage, seeker, warrior, you miss the real work. Carl Jung's greatest gift wasn't giving us symbols, it was showing us the path of individuation, becoming fully consciously yourself. Your birth archetype isn't your identity, it's a mirror. And like all mirrors, it can trap you if you mistake the reflection for the real thing. You are more than your month's energy. But if you stay unaware, it will rule you from the shadows. The sage must learn to dance. The warrior must learn to pause. The alchemist must learn to trust the dark without drowning in it. Carl Jung taught that confronting the archetypal wound, not escaping it, is the only path to freedom. Integration isn't glamorous. It's gritty, painful, honest. Because the moment you meet your unconscious, you meet the parts of yourself you've been hiding behind pride, busyness, or control. This is the real work, not admiring your pattern, transforming it. Because once you can name the myth, you can reauthor it. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Most people never claim that privilege. They stay trapped in loops they mistake for destiny. But not you. You've begun reading your soul's map, the hidden myth you were born into. Now you face the decision Carl Jung left to all of us. Continue unconsciously or live awake. Your archetype may be your beginning, but it doesn't have to be your end. You were born into a story, but you are not bound to finish it the way it was written. If this journey sparked something in you, some ache, some forgotten truth rising to the surface, then stay with us. Like this video and claim the right to become the conscious author of your life's myth. You are not just born, you were scripted. But now, the pen is yours.